This is when I was working at a large e-commerce agency, and one of the clients was a large national retailer. And what really happens in the scoping of a project is just really requirement gathering, understanding what are the needs, what are the outcomes at the end of this project, what functionality do you want to have on your, this website in particular. The couple key things that happened on this is it was the platform that they had built on was fairly complicated and needed technical work always. The cost of running this and rightfully so, because it was fairly complex integration. It needed to route orders and then also be able to take customer orders based on the square meterage and weight. Anyone who's ever worked in e-commerce, it was built on Magento, and just for context, it's not unless you have a technical team, it requires. You need to get those skills somewhere. The head of marketing had severely underestimated how much, not underestimated, it was scoped that, hey, in order to maintain this site, just bare minimum, any bugs that happen, when updates get pushed and you need to fix those bugs, it probably requires baseline a month, probably let's just allow 50 hours. That's very conservative, just for bug fixes and maintenance and updates, right? That's 50 hours there. We had scoped 100 hours to also, if you want additional features, so stuff that, you want to add new things, update pages or something, you need another probably 50 hours depending on that. And that's, development resources, project management resources, design, quality assurance. There's a lot of things that go into that maintaining of that work. So what had happened is, the business had just been bought by another company and they were looking to optimize cost. The head of marketing hadn't forecasted or hadn't put in the budget. They go, cool, we've just built this new website. It's going to be X amount of money, but didn't really factor in the retained project cost to maintain the site. It had been clearly stated at every point before the project, during the project, after the project. We had a 100-hour retainer, and in the following month, when I was cool, we had a backlog of, maybe I'd say 300 hours worth of backlog. But what would happen is he wanted to reduce it to 30 hours a month, right? So I'm talking 30 because the parent company just bought it out, and he was going, I'm spending all this money on, just to keep the lights on, just stuff. And there was stuff that was breaking on the website as updates get pushed. We advised against that, said, hey, this is not going to work. And what happened is anything that needed to be updated had a task associated. We'd always get an estimate to go, cool, how long will that take? And so we could obviously manage the time and how much hours is against that. Full transparency with the client about every step of what task, how much everything takes. And so when we'd estimate a task, one task maybe take 10 hours, right? So that's 1/3 of the 30-hour budget already gone to one task. Now, what would happen is we would have scheduled tasks for the month, and we go, okay, we've only got 30 hours to plan with. So let's just say, depending on the size of the task, it takes, some tasks could take 40 hours, if it's a big integration or something, right? We'd reduce it to 30 hours. And what was happening was tasks were either partially complete but couldn't be finished because a bug, a priority one bug would happen. A customer can't check out, or it's impacting sales directly. That would happen, may have happened during the week or whatever. That would get bumped to top priority. All resources would be allocated towards that, which meant that anything that was previously scheduled or planned can no longer be done. And what was frustrating and doing my head in was the scope around, or the expectation that the task should just be instantly fixed. It's a P1, it's a bug, it should just be fixed, and you should do it within the time that it allocated. I would have a fortnightly catch-up. I would have a list of maybe, I'd say, 20 tasks, maybe 5 that were priority and 10 that were kind of ongoing, needed some fixes or maintenance. He was like, why is nothing getting done? And I said, well, 5 hours was spent here. This was scoped up to be 15. This bug came in here at 10. There's your time already gone, right? And then some. And then when we charge, say overages, we do go, hey, this month we actually worked 50 hours on your account. He would be so upset, even though at 2 checkpoints had been hey, we're going to go over, and I give him the option. We go, hey, we're going to go over this month, or we don't deliver, or we don't charge any, or we can wait till next month before we start work. That's how we'd be very strict. The one thing about this agency, we were very strict around the hours management because we needed to be. We need to manage our resources, right?
Yeah. Well, that's your model as well, right? If you're selling hours.
Totally, absolutely. Yeah. It's the resource management, and if we have guaranteed hours, we can put guaranteed resources on that project. And if you have less hours, then it's harder to manage. But that was one of the things where the scope had, which should have been 100 hours just to maintain, was nothing. And what was interesting is the client was so frustrated about stuff not getting done, where it was a pure case of educating the client, recommending against it, going against recommendations, and then being frustrated when it wasn't working out. Nothing was getting done. You know that triangle where it's like you choose speed, quality, and what's the third one?
Like price.
Price, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, he wanted the cheapest price.
Yeah.
He wanted the fastest delivery, and he wanted it like, you know what I mean? Like he wanted
that's
all
quality, yeah.
quality. He wanted all those things done, and it just was not feasible.
So when you said here's where it got allocated, what did he say?
He saw where it got allocated, and he was upset that there was stuff that literally had been, because the backlog was so long. So like, let's say I had those priority tasks. So there's probably about 100 hours of work, 150 hours of just work to be done on the existing tickets that we had scoped and estimated, right? And what had happened was, because a bug had come in, or a new request had come in that took precedence over something that had more time allocated to it, it wasn't possible to close them out. So he was getting frustrated that he goes, we get to 2 months into this 30-hour arrangement, and he's like, why is this bug from 3 months ago still here? And it's like, well, here's the logs, here's everything that's happened, because we can't get to it. We don't have time. You don't have sufficient budget credit to do that.
Yeah.
You can pay now and you can get it done.
Yeah.
But you don't want to.
And what was the response?
Didn't want to pay for those hours.
So I don't want to pay, but I'm annoyed that it didn't happen.
Correct, yeah.
So how did that story end?
The client actually ended up going to a cheaper development partner. I probably worked with him for another 6 months after that. And then they found a cheaper agency to do it. And then I believe that they actually went back to the agency that I worked for, funnily enough.
After you stopped working for him.
Oh, no, not after I stopped.
No, not because of you. I'm not saying because of you, but you. Isn't it ironic?